These are four Hollywood figures whose fame and public admiration hid some of the worst crimes in entertainment history. Beloved television dads, Oscar-winning producers, and familiar primetime faces, the men on this list used their positions to harm others for decades before the truth caught up with them. We start with the man whose downfall changed the entire industry, Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein co-founded Miramax Films and later the Weinstein Company. And for years, his name carried more weight in Hollywood than almost anyone else's. Oscar-winning cinema and Weinstein were practically the same sentence. And that's what made October 2017 so explosive when the New York Times and the New Yorker published investigations exposing a pattern of alleged sexual abuse, harassment, and secret settlements stretching back at least 30 years. Over 80 women in the film industry eventually came forward. Weinstein lost everything almost overnight. His own company fired him. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences expelled him. And the Academy described the wider silence around his behavior as willful ignorance and shameful complicity in sexually predatory behavior. The Weinstein Company filed for bankruptcy shortly after. An arrest followed in May 2018 on charges of rape and other offences in New York. By February 2020, a jury found him guilty of first-degree criminal sexual act and third-degree rape, which carried a sentence of 23 years in prison. A Los Angeles jury then convicted him of rape and sexual assault in February 2023, adding another 16 years to be served consecutively, not concurrently, with the New York sentence. And this is where the legal story takes a turn. New York's Court of Appeals overturned the 2020 conviction in April 2024, ruling the trial judge committed what the court called egregious errors by allowing testimony from women whose allegations were not part of the charges. A retrial kicked off in April 2025, and by June of that year, Weinstein faced conviction again on one count of criminal sexual act tied to the 2006 assault of Miriam Haley, a former production assistant. Jurors acquitted him on a second charge, and a mistrial landed on the third. As of early 2026, Weinstein remains locked up at Rikers Island while still serving his 16-year Los Angeles sentence, which his lawyers continue to appeal. A third New York trial has been ordered for the remaining charge. The Weinstein story is widely credited as the spark that ignited the global Me Too movement, a reckoning that reshaped not just Hollywood, but entire industries around the world. Bill Cosby. An entire generation of Americans knew Bill Cosby as America's dad. Born in Philadelphia in 1937, Cosby became the first African-American actor to star in a leading dramatic role on network television through I Spy in the 1960s. The Cosby Show ran from 1984 to 1992 and turned into one of the most watched sitcoms in television history, earning him multiple Emmy and Grammy Awards along the way. Behind that image, something far darker had been happening for decades. 60 women, over 60 of them, eventually accused Cosby of sexual misconduct, with allegations spanning from the mid-1960s all the way to 2008 across 10 US states and 1 Canadian province. Andrea Constand's case brought him to trial. She alleged that Cosby drugged and sexually assaulted her at his Pennsylvania home in January 2004. The district attorney at the time, Bruce Castor, declined to prosecute in 2005, and that decision turned out to matter enormously. Cosby, believing he would never face criminal charges, provided damaging testimony in a civil deposition, including admitting that he obtained Quaaludes with the intent of giving them to women he wanted to have sex with. For nearly a decade, nothing happened. That changed in October 2014 when comedian Hannibal Buress referenced Cosby's alleged misconduct during a stand-up routine, and the clip went viral. Court documents from the old civil suit were unsealed the following year, and a new district attorney named Kevin Steele filed charges. A first trial ended in a mistrial in June 2017 when the jury deadlocked, but a second trial in April 2018 delivered guilty verdicts on all 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault. Prosecutors revealed during those proceedings that Cosby had paid $3.38 million to settle Constance's earlier civil case. A sentence of 3 to 10 years in state prison followed. What nobody expected came on June 30th, 2021. Pennsylvania's Supreme Court overturned the conviction entirely, ruling that Cosby's due process rights had been violated. The earlier prosecutor's decision not to charge him amounted to a promise, and Cosby relied on that promise when he gave his deposition testimony, which prosecutors then used against him at trial. He walked out of prison after serving nearly 3 years. One thing needs to be stated plainly here. The court did not declare Cosby innocent. The ruling centered on procedural fairness, not the facts of the case. March 2022 closed the door for good when the US Supreme Court declined to hear the appeal, making the Pennsylvania decision final. Civil courts have continued to hold Cosby accountable. A jury in 2022 found him liable for sexually assaulting Judy Huff in 1975, when she was 16 years old, and ordered him to pay $500,000. 9 more women filed civil suits in 2023. 97 colleges and universities stripped him of honorary degrees. Today, at age 88, Cosby lives privately in Pennsylvania with no confirmed entertainment projects on the horizon. Danny Masterson. Danny Masterson played Stephen Hyde on that 70s show for all 8 seasons, from 1998 to 2006, and that role defined his career. In 2020, prosecutors charged him with 3 counts of forcible rape, all allegedly committed at his Los Angeles home in 2003. Every one of his accusers belonged to the Church of Scientology at the time, and so did Masterson. Scientology's involvement became a central issue in the case. Prosecutors alleged that the church discouraged the women from going to police, and that church policy required special permission for members to report other members to law enforcement. When the television show Leah Remini, Scientology and the Aftermath attempted to air an episode about the allegations, Disney and A&E received a barrage of attack letters from Scientologists. A first trial ended without a verdict, as the jury couldn't reach consensus on any of the 3 counts. The second trial in 2023 ended differently, with conviction on 2 counts of forcible rape, and a hung jury split 8-4 in favor of conviction on the third. 30 years to life. That was the sentence Judge Charlene Olmedo handed down on September 7th, 2023, the maximum allowed by law. She addressed Masterson directly from the bench, telling him, "Mr. Masterson, I know that you're sitting here steadfast in your claims of innocence, and thus no doubt feeling victimized by a justice system that has failed you. But Mr. Masterson, you are not the victim here. Your actions 20 years ago took away another person's voice and choice." One of the victims delivered words that echoed through the courtroom. "When you raped me, you stole from me. That's what rape is, a theft of the spirit. You are pathetic, disturbed, and completely violent. The world is better off with you in prison." Masterson now sits in the California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo, ineligible for parole for more than 20 years. His ex-wife, actress Bijou Phillips, filed for divorce, took full custody of their daughter, and in 2025 filed to remove Masterson's surname from the child's legal name. A civil case brought by the victims against both Masterson and the Church of Scientology remains ongoing. Michael Jace. Michael Jace worked as an actor in Hollywood for over 20 years, appearing in films like Forrest Gump, Boogie Nights, and Planet of the Apes. Most viewers recognized him as LAPD officer Julian Lowe on the FX drama The Shield. a role that spanned 89 episodes from 2002 to 2008. On the evening of May 19th, 2014, Jace picked up the phone, dialed 911, and spoke 3 words to the operator. "I shot my wife." Police arrived at his Hyde Park home in South Los Angeles and found his wife, April Jace, dead from gunshot wounds at the age of 40. Jace had fired once into her back and then twice into her legs, and their 2 sons, ages 8 and 5, watched it happen. The trial produced testimony that is difficult to hear. The couple's 10-year-old son told the court he heard his father say, "If you like running, then run to heaven," before firing the second shot. April Jace loved to run. Violence had surfaced in Jace's life long before that night. A sworn statement from a friend of his first wife alleged that Jace choked and hit her and slammed her against the wall back in 1997, while their infant son screamed in his crib nearby. Financial trouble had also been building for years, with Jace declaring bankruptcy in 2011 after accumulating $500,000 in debts and defaulting on the mortgage of the very house where the shooting took place. Less than 3 hours of deliberation. That is all it took for a jury to convict Jace of second-degree murder in May 2016. A sentence of 40 years to life followed. His appeals have been denied, and he remains behind bars today. Biola University, where April Jace worked as a financial aid counselor, named a scholarship in her honor. Conclusion: what connects these cases is not just the crimes. It is the distance between who these men pretended to be and what they actually did. Weinstein positioned himself as a champion of independent film. Cosby built a career on being America's most trusted father figure. Masterson showed up in millions of living rooms every week as a lovable sitcom character. Jace played a police officer sworn to protect people on screen, while off-screen, the truth was the opposite. Some of these men were convicted and remain in prison today. One walked free on a legal technicality, even as civil courts continued to hold him accountable. Across every case, though, it was the courage of the people who came forward, often at tremendous personal cost, that dragged the truth into the open. Hollywood has always excelled at building illusions. These stories are proof that sometimes the darkest performances happen off-screen.